Welcome in 217 Bassin here with you today. I'm in the garage. Today I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to set up a Texas rig worm versus a Carolina rig. Recently I just went to Sancrest Lake in Springfield, Illinois, and this lake is shallow on the banks but has a lot of places where you can use a Carolina rig off of deep points. So if there's not a lot of wind and you can sit out deep, you can throw up shallow and bring that bait down the steep decline and then out into some deeper water. It's a really good way to pick up some fish because usually those fish are sitting on that ledge. So my go-to that I like to use is a Texas rig. So how to set up a Texas rig? I throw this on 15-pound cigar line, red label, clear line, and I use anywhere from this is a 3/16. I will use a 1/4, and if I'm trying to throw it far or it's heavy vegetation, I will even go up to a 1/2 ounce bullet weight. So the first thing that goes on the line is a bullet weight. Okay, and then size of your hook, you can use a 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, 5/0, depending on how big of worm or craw or lizard that you're throwing. So I like to use a 4/0 with a 7-inch worm, and when I upsize my worm to a 10-inch worm, I still stay with the 4/0 hook. Sometimes you miss fish that will get the tail of it and just pull on that tail, but I think the 4/0 is a good size for a 7-inch worm. So I'm going to take this worm off and I'm going to show you how to rig it first. So first you got your bullet weight on, you put your bullet weight on the line, tie your hook on, 4/0 hook, and then to put the worm on, you're going to come up to the top of the head, put the hook through the top of the head, and then poke it out. See how this curl is straight right here? You want to find that straight edge because that's the back of the worm. You're going to poke that hook through, slide the worm up to the top, and then what you're going to do is you're going to find where you want your hook to go in the worm, and you're just going to move it up a little bit, pinch that worm, stick the hook in and pull it down, and you want that worm to sit straight on that hook, just like that. Sit straight on that hook. When you throw out the Texas rig, you're going to throw it out, make your cast, throw it out. Then what you're going to do is you're going to raise your rod tip up till 12 o'clock, reel in the slack, put it down, let it sit, and raise it back up. Okay? So that's the Texas rig worm. Now, I'm going to talk to you about the Carolina rig. So the Texas rig can be fished shallow, which I like to do. It can be fished deep. It can be fished out on the ledge. Same with the Carolina rig. You're still using a plastic, and you can fish it shallow. You can fish it deep. I like to fish it in deep water. So if I'm shallow fishing and I'm sitting, and I'm throwing to the bank and I'm hitting weed beds and I'm hitting stubs, I go with the Texas rig. If I'm sitting out deep and I'm on a point, that is when I go to the Carolina rig. If I know that point comes down like this, I like to throw a Carolina rig or a shaky head, but I'm going to talk about the Carolina rig today. So Carolina rig, a little bit different setup. You have, I start with braided line on the reel. So this is 30-pound Power Pro braided line. 30-pound Power Pro braided line. And I like to put these little beads on. Now I got a tip for you. Don't go to your tackle store, your bait shop, your Dick's, your Shields, your Gander. Don't go to those places and buy your beads. Go to a craft store. Go to Walmart in the sewing section and get your beads for that. Your beads will protect your knots, and it also will, I don't know if you can hear that, it'll rattle. okay? Especially when it's coming over rocks, it'll rattle. So I got 2 beads, one on top, one on the bottom, and I got a 1/2 ounce egg weight that will slide up and down this line. Now with the egg weight, you can use 1/2 ounce. I start at 1/2 ounce if you're fishing real heavy cover, you're fishing in, or you want to throw the bait farther, 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce. And then you have your swivel hook. So we use a 2-point swivel. All right. And then I have a 1 foot to 2 foot leader. This is probably in between that. That's probably about an 18-inch leader. And that leader is that fluorocarbon line. And then you hook onto your 4/0 hook, and you are gonna rig your, this is a lizard. I like to throw a lizard when I'm throwing a Carolina. Gives it a little bit bigger profile. So your lizard is rigged the exact same way that I talked about how to do that worm. Okay, so the difference between the Texas rig, I like a fluorocarbon line, clear. I use that from the hook to the reel. When I don't have to tie extra knots, I don't want to, because I think that weakens your line. This fluorocarbon, has braid, starts with braid, 2 beads, 1/2 ounce egg weight, swivel, about a 12-inch to 18-inch leader, and the leader is fluorocarbon. I think it's 12-pound Seagar Red Label. And then I got my 4/0 hook. I got my lizard on my 4/0 hook. Okay, just like that. Now I had trouble in my last video when I went out with Roger to St. Chris, and the reason I had trouble was I had old line in my boat. So I was using a leader, and I went over some brush, my line broke. I rigged it back up with some extra line I keep in my boat for the Carolina rig. Well, that line had been in the boat for about 2 years, maybe 3 years, and it gets hot in your boxes in your boat, and I never replaced the line. I replaced it. I broke off 4 times after I replaced the line. I replaced my leader, and the only thing I could think of, I tied my hooks the same way, or my knots on my hooks the same way since I started fishing, and I've never had a problem like that. So the only thing I could think of, that it was bad line that had been in my boat for a while and kind of spoiled. So Carolina rig versus Texas rig, both are excellent fishing rigs. You just got to find the right time to throw them and what the fish want to see. The other thing with the Carolina rig versus the Texas rig, Texas rig is going to bounce on the bottom. It's a bottom bait. The Carolina rig is going to be a suspended bait. So that egg is going to rattle on the ground and cause a commotion on those rocks. But if this is a floating plastic, that's going to float up a little higher and stay out of that stuff. So just something else to consider when you're trying to decide between a Carolina rig and a Texas rig. Both are excellent fishing techniques and rigs to use. So if you haven't tried it yet, please go ahead and try the Carolina rig, and make sure you try that Texas rig. That's my favorite thing to throw. That's the first thing I start out with usually when I go to the lake, is a Texas rig, and it has produced for me. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. 217 Bassin, and wishing you guys tight lines this weekend.